Welcome to Stoic Habit Builder, where timeless Stoic wisdom meets daily practice. I'm glad you're here because this is the place to slow down, reflect, and build the inner strength that helps us face life with clarity and peace. Have you ever felt exhausted from constantly living under the weight of other people's expectations? Maybe it's the pressure to fit in, to impress, to prove that you're enough. You walk into a room and immediately feel the judgment in people's eyes, what you wear, how you speak, what you've achieved. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start to shape your life around their approval. But here's the truth. The world will never stop comparing. Society will always have something to say. If you let those voices control you, you'll spend your life chasing shadows, and in the process you lose yourself. Real peace isn't found in applause. It's not hidden in someone else's praise or their acceptance of you. True peace begins when you stop asking, "Do they like me?" and instead ask, "Am I living in alignment with my own values?" The ancient Stoics discovered this long ago. They understood that while we can't control what others think, we always have control over three things: our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. That's it. And within those three lies all the freedom and power you'll ever need. Think about it. No matter how chaotic the world becomes, no matter how loud the noise gets, you always have the choice to remain calm inside. You can't silence the opinions of others, but you can choose not to let those opinions dictate your worth. You can't stop life from throwing obstacles your way, but you can decide how you respond to them. So let me ask you, what if today you stopped living for their approval? What if you turned down the noise, let go of the comparisons, and began focusing only on what you can truly control? That's the invitation I want to extend to you in this video. Together, we were going to walk through 10 timeless Stoic lessons, 10 practices that will help you reclaim your inner strength, quiet the chaos, and live a life anchored in peace and purpose. So take a deep breath, set aside the distractions. This is your time to step away from the noise of the world and reconnect with the strength within you. Because once you master these principles, you'll discover a freedom most people spend their whole lives searching for. 1. Self-love and inner freedom. We live in a society that puts romantic love on a pedestal. Movies, songs, even advertisements constantly tell us that happiness is found when we meet the one. And while love is beautiful, this belief can trick us into thinking our worth depends on someone else's presence in our life. But let me ask you this. What happens when the relationship ends? What happens when you face heartbreak, rejection, or loneliness? Too many people fall apart because they've built their identity on someone else's approval. The Stoics had a different perspective. They taught that real happiness begins the moment you learn to respect and love yourself. Your value doesn't rise or fall with who chooses to stay or leave. You're not defined by whether someone else loves you. You're defined by the relationship you build with yourself. Think about it. You could lose a partner, but you don't lose your worth. You could be single for years, yet still live a deeply fulfilling life. Why? Because when you cultivate self-love, you're no longer desperate to fill a void with someone else's attention. Instead, you create connections from a place of wholeness, friendships, community, even romance that is rooted in authenticity rather than need. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing love to fix you, that's when you attract healthier, more genuine relationships. People are drawn to those who stand firmly in their own self-respect. Self-love also shifts how you experience daily life. Suddenly, happiness is no longer this big prize you're waiting for someone else to hand you. It's in the simple joys. Reading a book that feeds your mind, walking outside and feeling the air on your face, finishing a personal goal you once thought was out of reach. These moments may seem small, but together they build a life that no heartbreak can take away. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Do you treat yourself with the same care and respect you expect from others? Because if the answer is no, maybe it's time to stop searching outward and start building inward. When you discover that love begins with you, you free yourself from the chains of dependence. And that freedom, that quiet, steady strength inside, is what the Stoics called true happiness. To be finding peace in silence and time. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And if we're honest, isn't that true for most of us? We rush from one obligation to another, scrolling endlessly, chasing deadlines, worrying about things that, in the end, don't really matter. Then one day we look back and realize we've spent years being busy, but not truly alive. Time is the most valuable asset we have. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose possessions and replace them. But once a moment passes, it's gone forever. And yet, how casually we throw it away, as if we had an endless supply. The Stoics believe that solitude, the ability to be alone with yourself, is not a punishment, but a gift. It's in the quiet moments, away from the noise of society's expectations, that we rediscover who we really are. I once read about a young woman who decided to go trekking alone in the mountains. No phone service, no distractions, just her and the silence of nature. At first, the quiet felt uncomfortable, even scary. But as the days went by, something shifted. She began journaling her thoughts. And in that stillness, she rediscovered her love for writing, a passion buried under years of trying to live up to everyone else's expectations. That trip didn't just give her memories, it gave her back her own voice. Maybe you don't need a mountain trek, but what if you set aside even 1 hour a day for solitude? What if you treated your time as a sacred resource instead of something to be spent carelessly? Here's a question worth asking yourself. If today were your last day, how would you spend it? Would you still waste hours arguing online, scrolling through negativity, or chasing approval? Or would you finally slow down, call the people you love, create something meaningful, or simply sit in peace and feel grateful for the gift of being alive? The Stoics remind us that life is fragile. We don't control how long we have, but we do control how we spend the time we're given. And when we learn to embrace silence and treat time as the treasure it is, we find a deeper peace, one that no chaos can steal from us. 3. Building strength through self-reliance. One of the most liberating truths you will ever learn is this: you don't need anyone's permission to live a meaningful life. For too long, many of us depend on the recognition of others, waiting for a pat on the back, a title, or someone else's approval to feel like we're enough. But the Stoics remind us that real strength is built when we no longer lean on the applause of the crowd. Think about it. What happens when no one notices your effort? What happens when your work goes unseen, when your sacrifices aren't celebrated? If your sense of worth collapses in those moments, it means you've handed your power to others. But when you learn to stand firm on your own values, your own choices, and your own inner compass, you can walk through life with unshakable confidence. Self-reliance isn't about isolation. It's about resilience. It's the ability to get back up after failure without needing someone else to validate you. Failure doesn't define you. It refines you. Every time you fall and rise again, you prove to yourself that your strength comes from within, not from the opinions of those watching. Take something as practical as managing your own finances. When you're disciplined with money, you're not waiting for someone else to save you, to provide for you, or to rescue you from poor choices. That independence doesn't just build security, it builds dignity. You begin to experience a freedom that can't be bought with external approval. Or consider solitude. Most people run from it, afraid of being alone. But those who embrace it often discover something powerful. That being by yourself doesn't mean being empty. In fact, it can mean being whole. Imagine enjoying a quiet evening, reading a book, or pursuing a personal project. Not because someone else expects it, but because it feeds your soul. That's the kind of fullness no relationship or applause can replace. So let me ask you, are you living for their approval or for your own growth? Because if your strength depends on their recognition, it will always be fragile. But if it comes from your own self-respect, your discipline, and your resilience, then nothing, not failure, not loneliness, not rejection, can take it away. The Stoics knew this secret well. Freedom and strength are not given to you. They are built day by day through self-reliance. And once you embrace that, you stop living as a shadow of other people's opinions and start living as the author of your own life. Learning to say no with confidence. Marcus Aurelius once advised, Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Such a simple question, yet it holds the power to transform how we live our lives. Think about how often we say yes when we really want to say no. We accept invitations we don't care for, take on responsibilities that drain us, or agree to favors that leave us exhausted. Why? Because we fear disappointing others. We fear being seen as selfish, difficult, or unkind. But in the process, we betray ourselves. The truth is this: every time you say yes to something unnecessary, you are saying no to your own values, your own goals, and your own peace of mind. The Stoics believe that discipline and clarity of purpose are the foundations of a meaningful life. And that means guarding your time and energy with the same seriousness you guard your money. Saying no is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of self-respect. It's standing up and declaring, my time matters, my energy matters, my values matter. And when you learn to say it with confidence, you not shutting people out. You simply living in alignment with what truly matters to you. Imagine this. Someone asks you to join another unnecessary meeting, or to spend hours on something that has nothing to do with your priorities. Instead of automatically saying yes, you pause and ask, is this necessary? If the answer is no, then give yourself permission to decline, with grace but with firmness. That single act protects your focus, your self-respect, and your freedom. And here's the irony. People often respect you more when you're clear about your boundaries. A person who says yes to everything may look agreeable, but they quickly become overwhelmed, resentful, and ineffective. A person who knows when to say no commands respect because they live by principle, not by pressure. So let me ask you, where in your life are you saying yes out of fear instead of saying no out of strength? How many hours, days, or even years could you reclaim if you practiced this discipline? Marcus Aurelius was right. The question isn't, can I do it? The question is it necessary? And when you begin filtering your life through that lens, you'll find that every no creates space for a deeper, stronger yes to your growth, your peace, and your true purpose. Through caring for yourself from the inside out. In today's world, self-care has become a buzzword. For some, it means expensive spa days or luxury items. But the Stoics remind us that true self-care is far more profound. It's not about impressing others. It's about honoring yourself. Caring for yourself is an act of respect, not performance. It's saying, I value my body, my mind, and my spirit enough to take care of them. Not for the world's applause, but for my own strength. And here's the good news. Self-care doesn't have to be complicated. It starts with the small, consistent actions that most people overlook. Getting enough sleep so your mind is clear. Eating food that fuels your body instead of drains it. Taking a simple walk to clear your thoughts and strengthen your health. Even writing in a journal so your emotions have a place to breathe instead of building up inside you. These practices may sound ordinary, but practiced daily, they create extraordinary resilience. The Stoics linked these habits to 3 essential virtues: discipline, temperance, and wisdom. Discipline helps you follow through on the routines that build strength. Temperance reminds you not to swing between extremes, not too much, not too little, but balance in all things. And wisdom allows you to see that these small choices are not trivial. They are the foundation of a powerful life. Let's be honest, it's easy to neglect ourselves. We push sleep aside for work. We reach for comfort food when we're stressed. We scroll instead of reflecting. And yet, every time we do, we quietly weaken the very foundation we need to handle life's challenges. Imagine facing adversity with a tired body, a foggy mind, and a restless spirit. Now imagine facing the same challenge with energy, clarity, and calm. Which version of you will be stronger? Which one will stand unshaken? So ask yourself, are you treating your body like an ally or an afterthought? Are you nurturing your mind with silence, reflection, and learning, or drowning it in noise? The Stoics understood something timeless. The way you care for yourself each day shapes how you show up in the battles of life. When you build the strength from within, you don't just survive storms, you learn to walk through them with steady steps. Self-care is not indulgence, it's preparation. And when you practice it with discipline, temperance, and wisdom, you create a life that no chaos can easily break. 6. Personal finance mastery. When it comes to personal freedom, few things weigh us down more than poor financial habits. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." That's a truth most of us forget in a culture that constantly pushes us to buy more, spend more, and prove our worth through things. Let me ask you this. How often have you bought something, not because you truly needed it, but because it made you feel successful, admired, or even just momentarily happy? I know I've been there. In my younger years, I wasted money chasing status, nice clothes, the latest gadgets, expensive dinners. On the surface, it looked like I was doing well. But inside, I was stressed, anxious, and never satisfied. Everything changed when I realized that money, when managed with wisdom, isn't about showing off. It's about building freedom. I began creating a simple plan, setting a budget, saving consistently, and choosing to invest not only in finances but also in my health, my education, and my growth as a person. Over time, that shift gave me something no purchase ever could: peace of mind. Financial self-control isn't about being cheap. It's about asking yourself, is this expense serving me, or am I serving it? When you stop spending to impress others, you reclaim your power. When you save and invest with purpose, you build a foundation that allows you to face life's challenges without constant fear. Think about it. How different would your life feel if you weren't lying awake at night worrying about bills, debt, or the next paycheck? How much calmer, more confident, and more creative could you be if money worked for you instead of against you? That is the real gift of financial discipline. It liberates your mind so you can focus on what truly matters. The Stoics didn't measure wealth in luxury, but in freedom from worry. And when you learn to live with fewer wants, you don't just save money, you save your energy, your dignity, and your inner peace. So remember, every dollar you spend is a choice. Choose wisely, and you will discover that financial management isn't about deprivation. It's about creating a life where you are no longer chained by money, but empowered by it. 7. Preserving dignity in relationships. In every relationship, whether at work, in friendship, or in love, there comes a moment when we're tested, a moment when we must decide, will I bend my values just to please others, or will I stand firm in my dignity? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Don't waste time debating what a good man should be one." And that's the essence of living with integrity. Imagine this. You're offered an opportunity at work, but it comes with a catch. You have to turn a blind eye to something unethical. Maybe it promises recognition, maybe even a promotion. The easy choice is to go along, to stay silent. But deep down, you know the cost isn't just your reputation, it's your soul. True strength is in saying, "No, I will not trade my values for temporary gain." You may lose the opportunity, but you keep something far greater: your self-respect. The Stoics remind us that dignity isn't about how others see you. It's about who you are when no one is watching. Too often we twist ourselves into shapes to be liked, to be accepted, to fit in. But here's the truth. You don't need to sacrifice your authenticity just to win approval. The people who are meant to walk with you in life will value you for your principles, not your compromises. Seneca gave us a powerful guideline. Associate with those who will make you better. Think about that for a moment. Who are the people in your circle? Do they inspire you to grow, or do they drag you down? Every relationship is either feeding your soul or starving it. Choose wisely, because the company you keep shapes the person you become. I've learned this firsthand. There were times I stayed in relationships, personal and professional, that demanded I shrink myself, abandon my values, or play small just to keep the peace. But when I finally chose dignity over approval, I discovered a freedom I never had before. Yes, I lost some connections, but I gained clarity, strength, and peace of mind. So ask yourself, what's worth more? A few fleeting opportunities or the lifelong respect you hold for yourself? Because dignity isn't just a virtue, it's your shield. Guard it fiercely, and it will guard you in return. 8. Staying calm in chaos. Life rarely unfolds the way we plan. Plans get disrupted, people disappoint us, and circumstances spiral beyond our control. But the Stoics remind us of a truth that can change everything. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Those words from Epictetus carry more weight today than ever before. Think about the last time you were stuck in traffic. Maybe you were late for an important meeting or rushing to get home. The frustration builds, your hands grip the wheel tighter, and your mind spins with negativity. But here's the question. Does anger make the cars move faster? Of course not. The situation doesn't change, but your state of mind can. By choosing calm over chaos, patience over panic, you take back your power. The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, literally, the premeditation of evils. It sounds dark, but it's actually liberating. They would visualize possible challenges ahead of time, delays, disappointments, losses. Why? Because when life inevitably threw these obstacles at them, they were already prepared. Instead of being shocked or overwhelmed, they could respond with strength and clarity. Try this for yourself. Tomorrow morning, before your day begins, imagine a few things that could go wrong. The meeting that gets canceled, the rude remark from a stranger, the unexpected bill in your mailbox. Instead of dreading them, simply acknowledge their possibility. Then when they happen, and some of them will, you won't be shaken. You'll respond with calm because your mind has already rehearsed peace. I've experienced this firsthand. There were times when sudden challenges knocked me down. A lost job, a betrayal, plans that collapsed overnight. At first, I resisted. I asked, why me? Why now? But the moment I shifted my perspective, I discovered freedom. The world outside may remain chaotic, but the world inside me doesn't have to be. Chaos will always exist. The traffic won't disappear. The storms will still come. The unexpected will continue to knock at our doors. But we are not powerless. We hold the choice to remain steady, to breathe deeply, to respond with dignity instead of desperation. So let me ask you, the next time life throws chaos your way, will you let it control you or will you stand unshaken? Because calm in chaos is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of strength. 9. Speak less, do more. In a world overflowing with noise, opinions, explanations, endless promises, the Stoics gave us a timeless reminder. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Epictetus wasn't telling us to stay silent forever, but he was pointing us towards something far more powerful. Action. Think about it. Words are easy. Anyone can make a promise, declare a plan, or post a motivational quote online. But how often do those words actually transform into real change? The truth is, people don't remember what you say nearly as much as they remember what you do. Your daily actions are the loudest message you'll ever deliver. We all know someone who talks endlessly about what they are going to do. Start a business, write a book, change their habits. Yet years pass and nothing happens. And then, there's that quiet person. They don't make a big announcement, they simply show up, put in the work, and over time they earn respect. Which one do you want to be? Here's the thing. When you let your actions speak for you, you don't need to convince anyone. Your consistency, your discipline, and your results do the convincing. That's why true confidence doesn't come from boasting. It comes from proving yourself, silently, day after day. I remember a friend of mine who rarely spoke about his goals. While others were busy talking about their big plans, he quietly got to work. Months later, he didn't just talk about starting his business. He had already built it. People trusted him, not because of his words, but because his actions had weight. This is what Stoicism teaches us. Observe more, speak less, and let your life itself become the testimony of your values. When you say less, you free yourself from the burden of proving something to others. And when you act more, you build unshakable trust, not just with people around you, but with yourself. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause. Ask instead, what action can I take right now that speaks louder than words? Because in the end, it's not the noise we make that defines us. It's the life we live. 10. Connecting with the stillness of nature. In our fast-paced, noisy world, we often forget that some of life's greatest lessons are written all around us, in the quiet language of nature. The Stoics knew this well. To them, nature wasn't just scenery. It was a teacher of peace, patience, and acceptance. Think of autumn leaves falling from a tree. They don't resist. They don't cling desperately to the branch. They simply let go when the time comes. And in that falling, they remind us that life, too, has seasons. Moments to grow, moments to release, moments to begin again. Or consider a stream flowing around a rock. The water doesn't fight the obstacle. It bends, adapts, and continues its journey. Isn't that what resilience truly is? Not bulldozing through every problem, but finding another way forward with grace. When was the last time you stood under the night sky and really looked at the stars? In those moments, the noise of our worries seems to shrink. The deadlines, the arguments, the fears, they feel so small compared to the vastness above us. Nature whispers a truth we often forget. Most of what we stress about is temporary, and much of it doesn't deserve the power we give it. Even a sunrise carries wisdom. Every morning the light returns without fail, no matter how long the night felt. It's a reminder that no matter how heavy yesterday was, today offers a new chance, a fresh beginning. I've experienced this personally. During a difficult season of my life, I found myself walking alone in a forest. At first, my mind was restless, replaying problems I couldn't solve. But as I kept walking, the quiet began to sink in. The rustling leaves, the steady rhythm of my footsteps, the cool air. All of it reminded me that life moves at its own pace, and I didn't need to force it. For the first time in weeks, I felt calm. This is the gift of nature. It slows us down, pulls us back into the present, and shows us how to accept life as it is. You don't have to escape to the mountains to feel it. Even sitting under a tree in your backyard, or watching clouds drift across the sky, can bring you back to yourself. So I invite you, take a moment this week to reconnect with the stillness of nature. Let it remind you that peace is not something we chase, it's something we return to. Just like the river, just like the sunrise, just like the turning of the seasons. We've just walked through 10 timeless Stoic lessons, 10 reminders that real peace, strength, and clarity are not found in chasing approval, wealth, or control, but in turning inward. The truth is this: life will never stop being noisy. The world will always be full of opinions, distractions, and chaos. But the Stoics teach us that true power is not in changing the outside world. It's in mastering ourselves. Think about it. We can't silence the storms outside, but we can calm the storm within. We can't always change what others do, but we can decide how we respond. And in that choice lies the freedom most people spend their whole lives searching for. Every lesson you've heard today is not just a philosophy to admire, it is a compass for living. Saying no with confidence, caring for yourself with discipline, choosing calm in chaos, building strength through self-reliance. These aren't just ideas, they are daily practices that transform who you become. But here's the challenge: wisdom without action is wasted. Knowing the principles of Stoicism means nothing if they stay trapped in theory. The Stoics didn't sit around debating what peace meant, they lived it. They put philosophy into practice, in their families, their work, their struggles, and even their darkest moments. So I invite you to take one of these lessons, just one, and apply it today. Maybe it's slowing down and connecting with nature. Maybe it's managing your money with more intention. Maybe it's speaking less and acting more. Whatever it is, make it real. Because the smallest step you take will carry more weight than 1,000 thoughts left unacted. Imagine a life where your peace doesn't break every time the world shakes. Imagine waking up each day grounded, calm, and unshaken by noise, because you've built strength within. That's the life the Stoics point us toward, and it's available to you, starting now. So let these 10 lessons be more than words. Let them be your compass. Let them shape how you think, how you act, how you live. And little by little, you'll discover what the Stoics knew all along: that a calm mind, a steady heart, and an unshakable spirit are the greatest victories any human being can achieve. If this message spoke to you, don't let it end here. Take these Stoic lessons and carry them into your daily life. And if you want to keep growing stronger, calmer, and wiser with me, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join our community. Together we'll continue to turn ancient wisdom into modern strength, one habit, one choice, one day at a time. Remember, peace is not found out there, it begins within you.